being treated like commercial banking, in the sense that you have one particular private banker being assigned to 150 clients, or one to 200 clients. So when something like that happens, it's very bad. They give you some invaluable information that you cannot get anywhere. If you see people who are high net worth individuals going to consult, going to get advice from these experts and professionals, you know that is very, very serious. What makes Tom or Jack, who has 10 Rand in his account, to not want to have those expert advising? Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kawonde, and I was gonna say welcome back, but this is actually my first video, so I'm pretty much excited about the whole YouTube thing. And yeah, so I just decided, okay, let me start with something to do with financial information, financial matters per se, and try and break it down, basically, try and make it exciting for people out there. Because I generally, these topics are generally boring, too academic, and people not lack interest in it. So I was just like, okay, let me jump into it. So that being said, today's video, I decided to make it about private banking, and I thought private banking is a very, very interesting topic, and might as well just dive into it. So the question then becomes, what is private banking, right? Just to give a characterization or context towards what private banking is all about, right? So I think a good way to look at it, or a good approach to look at it, is by first starting off by looking at retail banking. What is retail banking, right? Retail banking is the one which is most understood by a lot of people, right? Which a lot of people use as well. So, and is accessible to the general population. So it's simply, retail banking simply going to the bank, facilitates withdrawing, depositing, getting loans from the bank, and a good 80 to 90% of people have access to that type of banking. Whereas in contrast to private banking, which is a bit different now, in the sense that now it's not accessible to everyone. It's much more accessible to high net worth individuals, right? In the sense of saying that they're the ones who can afford these services. However, when looking at private banking itself, you then see that in terms of accessibility, they have a selection criteria to say, oh, okay, you come to the bank and you say, I wanna join a private bank. There's a selection criteria, and typically it's based on two criteria, which is your income and your sizable investable assets. And you see typically in the South African context, if you want to go to RMB, Investec, or even ABSA for in the private banking sector, you then see that they start off at 1.5 million rand that you're supposed to earn, right? And that's roughly the approximate figure that they use across all spectrums of the banks, right? And when looking at the investable assets, it's 8 million rand minimum that they start for you to be eligible. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, but the cost of services as well are much more expensive than retail banking, commercial banking, and all the other types of banking, which makes the private banking much more interesting. So that being said, and given a characterization of it, in terms of how I put my speeches out, I like to structure it. I like to give like a formal layout in terms of how I do it. So I decided to break it down into like 4 sectors, or 4 parts, right? The video. So the first compartment, starting off with basically analyzing the client, or the clientele. Secondly, the private bankers themselves. Thirdly, the interconnection between these two, or the relationship between these two. And lastly, I decided to look at the shortcomings of private banking. So that's pretty interesting. So we might as well just dive into that as well. So, okay, so that being said, let us look at the client, right? So let us assume that you're the client. Let's say you have all this money, you have no doubt about it that you're balling. You're a boss, right? You have all this money and you want to invest it something. But however, you don't have the time. You don't have the time to manage your affairs, your monetary affairs. You don't have the money to plan, the time to plan or even structure how you're actually going to deal with your finances. And say, okay, I want to go to a private bank and I want to, put my money, place my money there and see how it goes, right? So when you look at private banking itself, right, you then see that it's very, very critical. And one of the things that they specialize in is personalized service, right? In the sense of saying that personalized servicing of whatever your financial objectives are. And we see that with high net worth individuals, they have specific objectives that they are seeking for or are seeking to achieve. And in most cases, it could be taxation planning, could be looking after your investments, it could be even looking and managing your affairs offshore or having an offshore account, even onshore. And those are a lot of the critical things that clienteles that go into private banking actually look at. And it's very, very important for a client to actually say, okay, I'm going to this private bank, whatever it is, RMB or Investec, etc., that I should trust these people because these people are managing your money. And we've seen that over the years that especially with clientele, that it is very, very important that you do make the right investment decisions, because some people have lost a lot of money because of making the wrong decisions. You make the wrong decision in the sense of saying that you invest your money in the wrong private bank, you lose even money that you're paying off for mortgage, you're paying down your house, and then all of a sudden guys mismanage your funds and you lose it. Even other instances whereby you are putting your retirement savings and then boom, they're gone. Now you're age 65 and now they tell you have to pump in an extra 5 years to suffice for the savings that they lost. Now you have to work up to 70. So those are very, very imperative things that need to be sought after and very, very critical to scrutinize and analyze those things. So another thing, especially when looking at clientele, is the matching in terms of how do you then have like a selection basis or a selection criteria in terms of how do we assign you to the particular private banker, right? And we see in most instances the type of routine that these private banks use is to put you or align you to a similar personnel. For instance, let's say I'm an accountant. I'm not gonna be assigned to someone to a private banker who specializes to general practitioners or doctors or engineers, etc. So in terms of looking at that professional field, it then becomes very, very suitable, very, very recommended for you to be aligned to that type of private banker, which basically leads me to actually speaking about the private bankers themselves and how they operate. So when you look at the private bankers themselves, it's highly recommended as well that you select a private banker who's good on the credit side of things, a guy who's good at things such as vehicle financing, guys who are good at amortizing assets, etc. And another good thing as well is to have a personal banker who's good at the banking side of things, right? Such as taking out your loans, etc., like leveraging, taking out debt. And it's particularly important to look at things such as debt, because we see that the behavioral pattern generally, when you look at high net worth individuals, they like to finance whatever it is for lifestyle purposes, or shaking your head on a yacht, or for instance, and even looking at debt itself, right, or leveraging or gearing for whatever reason it is. Personal bankers will assist you in that process to place debt in very, very strategic positions, and that is very, very important to look at something like that, not only on the banking side of things, but actually transitioning to things such as wealth management. And as well known that high net worth individuals, they have current state of affairs, whatever it is, monetary affairs, but they always want to take that money and then place it forward towards the future generation, the upcoming generation, the kids that they have, and so forth. And private bankers then come in and chip in and say, you know what, I'll manage your affairs, I'll manage whatever it is, open up a trust account for you, or sign up your testamentary will, and even in some instances bequeath assets towards your kids or your grandkids in the event of your passing. And that is also key to look at things like that, which are very, very essential, like wealth management, as well as looking at the private bankers. They also assist in the instance of associating with other professionals within the field. So a typical example that is very, very relatable is you have a doctor, or you have a general practitioner. The general practitioner does everything, encompasses a lot of things. Whether you have a headache, you have a tummy ache, whatever it is. But in the instance whereby now you have a problem, you break a bone, for example, you now have to be prescribed to whatever a specialist that is within that field, an orthopedian, to be exact, and even an orthodontist for whatever reasons. If you have teeth or gum problems, that's the same principle that is used by private bankers. You have a private banker that's assigned to you. He manages your financial affairs. However, there are instances whereby you want special care, right, towards particular issues. For example, taxation, right? You're gonna go to a proper tax practitioner to assist you with your taxes, and that then works out to be very good in terms of associating with other professionals. So that being said, pretty much rounded it up. We're also going to look at the relationship between the private banker and the clients. So when you look at the relationship, it should be on a basis of trust. We see that trust is very, very, very key within the field of banking, because you're placing your money in someone else's hands, and that person could literally do anything that they want to do with your money. So, and we see that these relations are built for a very, very long duration, amounting from even 20 to 25 years, having that particular private banker. So when you have like a private banker for 20 to 25 years, you want to be very, very careful and very, very meticulous in terms of which particular person you're going to select, because it's not only just a professional relationship, but it's gonna be a personal relationship where you're gonna speak to this person and tell them how to manage your affairs, or where you inquire where you need assistance. And in that particular case, that you at least need to consult with your private banker at least once every year. I mean, depending on how big your portfolio that you're managing is, the magnitude, right? Or if it's very, very big, then obviously at least once every quarter, just to see how your finances are looking like. So another point of significance as well is to disclose, right? To disclose all your financial positions, to disclose how your balance sheet is looking like, and not omit any of the critical financials that need to be put there. Why is that then important? It's important because it just adds more value towards the private banker, because how can he then execute his work when there's not sufficient information to work with? what is particularly seen amongst clients is that they have other monies within other banks, and they don't like to disclose that, and that makes it very, very difficult for the private banker to then execute their job to full, to their full potential. So that being said, we're just going to transition straight into the shortcomings. I know the timing aspect of things. I just wanted to make this video short, but no, it seems like I'm running with it. So the shortcomings of this of private banking in particular, you then see that private banking is problematic in the regard of saying the ratio aspect of things. The ratios are very, very bad when we see that private banking is now then being treated like commercial banking, in the sense that you have one particular private banker being assigned to 150 clients, or 1 to 200 clients. So when something like that happens, it's very bad in the sense that you have a burden strained towards one particular private banker. However, the monies and affairs of other clients are not then being dealt with in full fulfillment, and that then is very, very problematic, and has to be fixed, because it's detrimental to both parties now that there is overburdening. And particularly, we know that high net worth individuals are very, very wealthy, but the cost of service as well is pretty much very, very expensive, even on a monthly basis. I know that companies, especially in South Africa, the private banks, on average cost about 530 rand or 535 rand that they charge as a service fee to their clients, and it's increased over the years. I mean, if you look at the trend from a 10-year trend, it started off as low as like 100 rand. 10 years down the line, it's now at 530 something rand, and you're like, whoa, that is a very, very big exponential jump in terms of the spike, the price hikes rather. And yeah, well, that were particularly very, very issues that were pressing in terms of the shortcomings that I've seen on private banking. But generally, I think it's very, very critical that people take up, if you're able to take up private banking. They give you some invaluable information that you cannot get anywhere. If you see people who are high net worth individuals going to consult, going to get advice from these experts and professionals, you know that is very, very serious. What makes Tom or Jack, who has 10 rand in his account, to not want to have those expert advising? So it's very, very good as well in terms of trying to contrast things as well. But this then brings me to the end of the video. This is actually my first video, so I hope it was enlightening. I hope it was great. I hope you learned something new, and basically just trying to help people understand these things in a very exciting manner. I hope I was exciting. I know that the nature of the information being relayed out is very technical, boring, very niche. But that being said, like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. And be tuned, put that notification bell to ring, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you so much. Cheers.